Hi everyone, it's me Jojo and I'm giving you a fabulous yellow themed filter look today. One of the most popular filters that have been going on Instagram for quite some time now is the fake freckled filter, which is a tongue twister to say. I have been living for this opportunity to work with NYX and Retrieve and give you some masterclasses that just give you a little taster of my work. And instead of showing you a tutorial, I speak through the creative process and give you a little bit of inspiration. So hopefully you can go out there and become your own makeup artist. I really wanted to give you a very, very, very cute look. I was obsessed with yellow when I was looking at my kind of creative ideas, and I thought, like, why have I never done a yellow look? I also wanted to give you a little bit of a hybrid of fake freckles, because as a freckly person, I tend to do the opposite, and I tend to disguise my freckles, and on my face I no longer have any freckles after years of skincare to get rid of them. Alright guys, please enjoy the tutorial and let me know what you think. Okay, so let's go on with the tutorial today. So I've skipped ahead because to me, I have given you a couple of basic tutorials in this. I call them basic, they're quite complex, but they're giving you the basic routine of applying the foundation. And as I've used today, I've been using the NYX, the Fabulous Foundations by NYX. And then on top of it, it's the All Day Concealer. I absolutely adore these products. They just sit on the skin so well, and the colours that I've got are so lovely. So what I'm doing is I'm bringing light to the centre of the face, because what this look was kind of inspired by was that sort of filter that sort of illuminates the middle of your face and covers you in freckles. It's been such a popular tutorial and I really, really, really enjoy using it myself. When I was doing this, I was enjoying sherbet lemons and I kept thinking, my God, sherbet lemons are like my inspiration. So I'm going to call this the sherbet lemon freckle look. So with the actual blending of the concealer, I start off with the sponge because I want to pat it into place, but then I use a brush to really buff in the edges. So instead of drawing on those contours with darker lines, I'm using the highlight to shape instead. It's so much more simpler and I think it works a lot better. Using the NYX Gorgeous Loose Powder, I'm actually using the powder puff around the lower portion of my face. Everywhere you want things to just look flat and sit nicely, use the puff. And then I'm going in with the Don't Stop All Day Fabulous Set Powder, which is basically like a powder foundation. Because it's darker than the skin colour I've used, I'm using it almost like a contour, but I didn't want it to look like it was bronzy. I just wanted it to be a skin tone that was slightly deeper than what I actually had on. This will allow me to shape the face, but also will allow me to sort of build up that graduation between the highlight and the shadow without it looking obvious. So I'm going back in with the highlighter and I'm just actually using the very palest powder I have just to bring in that light in the centre of the face again, creating that illusion that everything is gorgeous, blended and fanning out. I'm taking some of the very, very dark coloured foundation I have by NYX and using it as paint to draw in eyebrow hairs. When I was doing these tutorials, I didn't want it to look too, I guess you would say, graphic. I wanted it still to have some sort of semblance of reality, almost like an editorial fashion look. But I wanted to build up my natural lashes and brows because my brows are very sparse and I think this is the best way to do it. I use a tiny, tiny stroke, like almost like you're drawing a feather on a piece of paper. It's the easiest way to do it and there's no guidelines. I'm just following my kind of shape and I'm going through the brow hairs bit by bit by bit. When I come to the outside of my brow, I tend to crosshatch. So I start off always doing the strokes up from underneath, from the top down. Then they finish in a nice tapered point. And fabulous, yeah. I'm going in with some of the brow gel. The brow gel will just disguise the colour of my brows because my natural brows are a little bit sort of like an ashy colour. So if I go on top of the gorgeousness we've already drawn in, it will just make everything come together in a really nice way. I love brow gel. Sometimes brow gel can get onto the actual base of your eyebrows, almost like a paint. Try and avoid that by just drying off the brush before you apply. When it comes to brows, a lot of people are using very different perming techniques and laminating them. But for me, I'm just keeping it simple because I'm using my real brows as the structure. Now, I'm taking this gorgeous NYX eyeshadow. This is actually a stunning yellow. It reminds me of those sherbet lemons that I was enjoying whilst I was filming. It just was such a nice thing. I don't eat sweets, by the way, so it was quite a rare occasion. I was just feeling my oats when I was doing this look. I think there was a look I did many years ago on my channel which was kind of like similar to this, but I used a sort of rose gold base instead of a yellow, but I really enjoyed it. When you're actually going through with a flat colour like this, it's so important to stamp the product on. You don't want to just rub it into the skin with the brush like a window wiper motion at all. What you'd like to do is actually just blend it by patting, building up that colour. Yellow often gets lost as well in studio lighting, so I thought it was really important to keep it opaque because otherwise it wouldn't have shown on camera as much. But this is a gorgeous shade. I really like yellow. I think it's a very underused colour in makeup, and sometimes people find it a bit scary because it's almost like an out there look. Well, all of my creative looks that I've been doing are out there, but I love it. I think it can look very chic. So I'm using that very pale highlighter, and as I tend to do with painting, with doing a makeup look, is I slowly build up the colours bit by bit. And as I think, oh, that might need some more, that might need some additional shading or angling, that's what I do. So I'm using a larger fluffy brush and I'm bringing that yellow into more of a blush-like application. So instead of that patting motion, you can see the very difference here. This actually feathers it out into almost like a wider space, less concentrated colour, and just makes it look a little bit more like a wash. That's what we want. Now, as I said earlier, yellow gets lost sometimes with light. So what I wanted to do is just add a little bit of an orange. It's almost like a neon orange to the yellow. This will just keep the yellow looking strong. It's almost going to cheat the eye into thinking that there's a darker yellow when I blend it through. It won't look orange by the time it's blended out. I actually quite like the orange and yellow together. It almost looks like a fire, but I thought I would continue just blending this slowly through the cheek. So what we're doing is we're kind of repeating what we've got on the lid onto the cheek, which you can replicate in any colour. If you wanted to do an editorial look in pink or in brown, if you wanted to do a very 90s brown contour, that would be gorgeous with a wash across the eye too. I really love the effect of actually combining the blush into the eyes. It brings me back to the whole inspiration behind this series, which was representing my kind of 80s clubland inspirations with that gorgeous Instagram filter effect. And there have been so many gorgeous filters on Instagram that illuminate your face. And I think I've done a good job here of just showing you how you can do that with makeup. So I'm now changing texture. I'm going to be using a metallic yellow, which is almost like a gold on top of the yellow as a highlighter. I'm using it in the center of the eyelid just to bring some light to that area. And then I'm building it up on the cheek. I keep going back to that larger fluffy brush because I want to really feather this through and blend it. We want it to gradually look like it's just almost like you're standing in front of a neon yellow light. That is the best description I think I can give you to how to create a blush. You've got to imagine it like light is hitting your face. I wanted to take it up into the temples, but still keep the skin. So I keep on buffing, slowly swapping. I'm using the stamping brush, I'm swirling through, and then I'm using the larger brush to feather. This will just radiate the colour out and it will make it look a little bit more intense, but still have a difference in opacity. I love this with makeup, and I started to connect the eyelids more to the cheeks just to bring everything in slightly. Now with the eye, I wanted to finish this off with a dramatic cat eye. So what I started to do is build up within both the tide line, which is under your top lashes, and your waterline, which is on the bottom, in black. This will allow you just to make a base to build up on top. So it's really important that you don't miss out the tide line. It's very tricky sometimes, but if you close your eye onto the pencil and just wiggle gently across, you'll get that top lash line and it won't let any of the skin colour come through. Don't worry about smudging it. It's going to be covered with a liquid liner on top. This is just the base for inside of your eye, and then we're going to go around your eye with a pencil and then a liquid next. Now, I just love the effect of black on yellow. I just think it reminds me of that Lady Gaga videos when she first came out. I think they're fabulous. For me, it was almost like I wanted to look like a mixture of a cat and just something cool. So I'm taking the edge of my liquid liner just to actually describe how I wanted to paint this out. So what I tend to do is look down into the mirror and drag the eyeliner out to meet the brow. So in my head, there's an imaginary line coming from the tip of the brow down, and that's going to meet the black of the liner. That way, what you're going to achieve is almost like a framing work to your eyes. It's going to start from the lower lash line and it's going to finish to your brow. And it just makes the entire eye shape look huge, gorgeous and lovely. I'm quite happy you can see here that the actual red in the eyelid doesn't actually give that orange tone. It almost looks like a shadow in the yellow, which is what I wanted to achieve. Now, I wanted to add like just a little dot here because I thought, my goodness, I just fancied doing something that was a bit more like polka dotty in the middle. It just made me feel a little bit more fun. And then I started to build up the freckles. So I'm using a brown liquid liner, and these are going to be the darkest shades. I've taken 3 browns, and each time they're going to be a little bit lighter in tone. The darkest brown is going to represent the colours that you find in the deepest of freckles. Now, I have freckles all over my body, so I was just looking at myself and comparing. So I was starting to use my finger just to blend out. And don't forget, you can go in as crazy as you want, because we're going to go through with some powder just to lighten up the shades. Now, I naturally have the most amount of shadows on the top of my head. And if you imagine where freckles form, it's where the sun hits. I have pigment all through my skin, so I was a bit of a rare exception to this. But I started to build up through the cheeks, the centre of the nose, just like that Instagram filter. I'm using more of a softer tone, so I'm using a coal now in brown, because the coal is going to smudge. It's not going to look as opaque as that liquid, and it's just going to give everything more of a 3-dimensional effect. I'm using just that brush I've been using to blend through all the yellow just over everything, because it's going to take down the harshness of that initial colour. I'm using my fingers, and I'm starting to build up now with a brush and some eyeshadow. This is going to be my lightest freckle effect, and is the one that's going to make everything look more realistic. The more you do this, the more realistic it will be, but don't concentrate them too much in one area. Think about where the sun would hit you, because that's going to give you that illusion. Now I'm using my finger just to pick up some of that metallic yellow, and I'm bringing that onto the cheek so it really shocks the eye. You see that giant, shiny, metallic cheek, which is gorgeous. I absolutely love combining the fingers with the actual products and brushes, because I think it just makes the product warm up a little bit more. In COVID, obviously, wash your hands consistently. Mine are nearly raw from washing so much after this series. Now, on the lip, I was debating whether to go either a nude or a black. And I thought, you know what, we're going to go crazy. We're going to do a black lip again. And I think this worked really well. I actually used a face paint. I like the effect of the face paint because it kind of dried down to a matte and slightly lighter than a black lipstick. So I really enjoyed it. And I just used a simple brush just to fill in my lip shape. This was such an exciting and fun one for me to do. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to keep it quite editorial. So in terms of fashion magazines, a lot of magazines, you won't see false lashes that are huge. That's more for the club and for fun. So I didn't want to go crazy. I just kept my real lashes, and then I did a couple of coats of the gorgeous NYX mascara. Here is the finished look. I really hope you enjoyed that one. It was fun for me to do. Thank you so much for watching. I had such a blast doing this yellow theme look. It's one of my favourites I've done recently. So can't wait for you guys to let me know what you think. Thank you, NYX, and thank you, Retrieve, and check out the next video.